That night, Yin couldn't sleep. As soon as she got back in the palace, she hadn't seen Bakugou, which is a relief to her part. As for his speech, Yin gave it to Midoriya to finish. Yin was still a little shooken. She decided to eat dinner alone and immediately went to bed, thinking about a nice sleep will be able to get her mind off of the horrible image of people being hung to death. It didn't work. She was able to close her eyes for a few minutes, lost consciousness for an hour, and woke up in the middle of the night. She stayed awake until the rays of the sun filtered her room through the window. "Good morning, Your Majesty," Uraka greeted. The girl proceeded to help Yin in the bath, dress her, and arrange her hair. When she is ready, she immediately went to the dining room area where she expected Bakugou should be, and indeed, he was sitting, eating, and reading something. Yin recognized it as a speech. Also, she noticed that a bottle hand glass of scotch is present. Yin sat down and started eating. But halfway, though, she lost her appetite. "How is it?" Yin asked, as she watched Bakugou put the parchment down once he finished reading. "Fine," he answered. "Since I wrote your speech for you, it's only fair that I receive something from you." Bakugou then looked at her, glaring. "You women are so sly. What do you want?" "Nothing big. Just some questions I want answered." "Hurry up. I still have things to do." Yin started. "I have heard that we are in the middle of the war, but who are we fighting?" "Glacia," he answered quickly. Yin nodded, recognizing it was the kingdom in the north. If she can recall, it was King Todoroki Shoto leading it. "And why are we at war with them?" "Because those fuckers pissed me off," Bakugou said while standing up and gathering the parchment. Yin felt like that's not the entire reason, but it sounded ridiculous. But she stood up. "But that's not a complete reason to wage war and tax your people heavily." Bakugou turned to her once more. "Yes, it is. I am king. I can do what I want." "Including killing many innocent people?" "They are not innocent. They are called criminals for a reason, and that's why they are punished. Those idiots were plotting to kill me, but I had them first." "Killed?" Yin corrected. "What? You punished them. You killed them." Bakugou clicked his tongue. "Makes no difference." Then he started walking away and out the dining room. Yin followed. "You said you are a king. You can do whatever you want. Then I believe you can also stop the war." "You're so fucking annoying." Yin heard him mutter. She frowned and glared at him. As she increased her pace, she finally caught and stopped in front of him. Bakugou stopped walking and glared at her. "How can you even call yourself king if you kill your own people because another kingdom just pissed you off? If anything, it's not the people's fault." She breathed. "It's yours for being too short-tempered and easily provoked." "Listen, I don't like blowing up wives as a damn hobby. But if you keep wincing, I might consider it." He sneered while glaring down at her. He's much taller than Yin and basically towered over her right now. But Yin didn't back down and held her guard, her fist grasping tightly on her dress as the tension hung in the air. "You're not going to do that," she stated. Bakugou continued glaring. "Not now, but maybe later." Yin's heart started hammering in her chest from the deadly tone in his voice. She remained silent, even when Bakugou finally moved away from her and started walking away. The woman sighed in defeat. She forced herself to forget Bakugou's threat and remain positive that her security would be kept. She also decided to try again. Even though he outright said she's being annoying, Yin decided not to be too affected by it. She knows one's duty of the queen consort is to keep quiet and support her husband on the sidelines. Shaking her head, she started walking and went to another hallway to go back to her room. Yin wants to lift her mood. It's still early in the morning, and she already had an argument with the king, so she decided she wants to roam around the garden. The hallway is full of court people, as always. Yin smiled at them as they curtsied or bowed once she passed. However, Yin saw a group of women whispering something while looking at her, their looks being judgmental. They didn't even dare to hide it when she walked past them. As she did, Yin caught someone adjusting their wig, looking at her with such disgust. They didn't even give a curtsy, but that is fine. What concerns Yin is that they may be whispering about her. Deciding she had enough drama this early in the morning, she walked faster to her suite. Uraka was there, sitting and waiting for her. The girl stood as the queen stormed inside with a distressed look. "Your Majesty, what's wrong?" Uraka asked, concerned. "It's nothing." She tried to reassure her, but when she looked out the window, with her brows furrowing, Uraka decided to offer a topic. "Is it because of the ladies?" Yin whipped her head to Uraka's direction. "How'd you know?" "Well, since yesterday and until now." Uraka seemed to hesitate, however she kept talking. "They've been whispering something about you." "Being what?" Uncultured and uneducated." "What?" Yin stopped herself before screaming in disbelief. "What would they think that?" "Your interaction with Lady Cammy during your wedding night has circulated around the court. They think you're stupid for not recognizing a wig, and they say Lady Cammy was very insulted." Yin's brows cased more. "It's not my fault that her wig doesn't match the color of her hair." Uraka nodded in agreement. "And it's far too big and round for a wig." The queen argued more. "It really looks like a hat." "I think so too, Your Majesty. Even when I was a noble back when I never dared use a wig," Uraka said. "And I wouldn't blame you for not recognizing a wig, seeing you probably hadn't had one, because I think your hair is really smooth and in great condition." "Thank you." Yin had a moment to calm down. "Yours as well." "Thank you," Uraka whispered. "Anyways, enough talk about wigs and hats." She walked to her chambers where Uraka followed. "I want to go to the garden and read." "Oh, of course, Your Majesty." Uraka then started to prepare her cloak and the books she might like to read when a voice called out from outside Yin's suite. "Sir Izuku Midoriya, Your Majesty." Uraka and Yin looked at each other, puzzled, but quickly composed themselves to meet Midoriya. Both women went to the drawing room. Midoriya bowed as soon as he saw Yin. Then a smile that he sent to Uraka's way didn't went unnoticed by the queen. Yin sat down while Midoriya remained standing. "So," Yin started, "what is the agenda for today?" "Nothing much, Your Majesty." Midoriya smiled. "I came here to discuss the matter relating to your ladies-in-waiting." "Oh, that." Yin glanced at Uraka and then back to Midoriya. "What of it?" "The court sees it fit for you to choose now, especially the women in the court. They always see you alone and they think it'll be best to have you be accompanied." She frowned and suddenly thought of how just earlier the women were whispering about Yin being uncultured. Now they're concerned because she looks lonely. And they also said surrounding yourself with women from this court will make you cultured and you will be more familiar with the culture and traditions of Igneous. Midoriya added. Yin raised a brow. "Because now that's a real issue." "I see. My parents, their concerns. And may I know the possible women to be my ladies-in-waiting?" Well, there's Lady Cami. She's eager and is recommended by His Majesty to be your lady-in-waiting, especially to be the mistress of robes. Yin felt like her brows couldn't go any higher. Lady Cami as the mistress of robes? She's basically going to be the head of all my ladies-in-waiting? Yes, your majesty, Izuku nodded. She must have been very close to my husband. As soon as Yin said that, Midoriya stiffened and looked nervous. Yin then changed the subject. Anyways, how about the others? Well, there's Lady Yaoyorozu, who is likely to be responsible for comper sentence much as answering a few pieces of your letters. Not just that, she'll also manage your schedules. Midoriya exclaimed, thoroughly with Yin nodding and listening intently. Your woman of bedchambers, the one who's going to dress and undress you, as well as prepare your bath, is still in question. Yin had an idea. How about Uraka? Pardon me, your majesty? Uraka. She smiled. She's basically my woman of bedchambers as of now. Why not her? Midoriya looked like he considered that idea, but then his face contorted into an apologetic look. I'm afraid that's not possible, your majesty. Why not? It's my ladies-in-waiting we're talking about. Yes, but His Majesty's orders not to let Uraraka be your lady-in-waiting. He said slowly, careful not to offend Uraraka. Yin stared blankly, then blinked and forced another smile. Then she remembered she forgot to mention Uraraka's stationary to Bakugou. I see. Yin nodded. Am I required to decide now? Yes. Will I lose Uraraka if I were to have my ladies-in-waiting? That's a possibility. She hummed and held a look, as if she was pondering on it. Let's see. Then Yin stopped pondering and gave Midoriya a smile. I decide. I will not take them as my ladies-in-waiting, and I will not accept anyone as of now. Midoriya was startled. His eyes widened and blinking. Is Her Majesty suggesting she'd be better off without any ladies-in-waiting for now? Exactly. But that's... Midoriya was cut off by Yin standing. That is my official decision. Thank you, sir. The green-haired scholar looked like he's ready to argue more, but decided to shut his mouth and bowed. Yes, your majesty. And just like that, he went out. Yin is now left alone with Uraraka, who holds her cloak. She set it aside to find books for Yin to read. Why did you do that? Uraraka asked, worried. Yin blinked. Is it bad? To be honest, your majesty, yes. She blankly answered while sorting through the many books in Yin's trunk. She turned and held one up. This? No, the queen shook her head. But how bad can it be? Well, for one, the women here in the court aren't that nice. What do you expect from nobles, your majesty? They're spoiled. Then she turned and showed another book to which Yin shook her head too. Of course, I'm not talking about you, your majesty. You're nice. Thank you. Uraraka once again went back to finding another book. They already think you are uncultured and can't seem to keep up with them. Now that you've rejected to have them as ladies-in-waiting, God, who knows what kind of rumors they'll start spreading. Yin sighed and pinched the bridge of her nose and looked up. Right, that's still a problem. When Uraraka shoved a book in front of her, Yin finally found one that considered reading. Uraraka then set aside to grab Yin's cloak and drape it around her. It's not that I'm uncultured because I don't want ladies-in-waiting. I had one back in Magnius, but I don't want you to lose your job. Yin spoke as Uraraka buttoned her cloak. I want to help you, Uraraka. If I can't help even one servant, how could I call myself queen? The girl smiled warmly. You have weird ideals, Your Majesty. What? Why? It's supposed to be the servant helping and serving the royals. Uraka giggled. Yin rolled her eyes playfully. You know what I mean. Yes, yes, Uraka nodded. Thank you, Your Majesty. Yin spent the rest of the day in the garden, reading her book and sitting by the fountain where the sound of water flowing seemed to calm her. By noon, Uraka delivered her lunch, and Yin had a peaceful meal. She stayed there till afternoon and no one bothered her. It was only when the sun started setting that she decided to get inside. There's no use reading in the dark, so Yin settled in her chambers. Her eyes hurt from reading, but she continued as the book got more interesting by the next chapter. She also decided to have dinner in her chambers while reading. By late in the evening, a servant knocked and asked for Yin. The servant informed that Bakugou is asking for Yin. Now she's on her way to the throne room, where he's currently at. When she entered, she saw Bakugou sitting by the long table placed in the middle of the throne room. She then saw Kirishima standing beside Bakugou. His back faced the door. On the table were maps and parchments. That's what good husbands do, she heard Kirishima say. I don't have to become a good husband. She should be lucky enough she is married to me. Bakugou yelled. Just do it, man. It was clear they're unaware of Yin's presence, so she stepped forward and made sure to slam one foot on the floor a lot harder. Both men turned their heads to Yin, and she plastered a smile. Kirishima cleared his throat and stood straight. Then he turned to Bakugou once more and mumbled something to the king before coming over to Yin. Your Majesty, he bowed. Kirishima, Yin addressed, and her eyes followed as Kirishima exited. Now, she faced the king. You wish to see me? He didn't look at her and start looking at the maps on the table. Yeah. What for? Yin went closer and is now on the other side of the table, standing in front of him. I'm going to the front lines tomorrow, he admitted, and then waved her off. That's all. Yin blinked. She wanted to ask more, but decided not to because she's too tired and eager to go back to her chambers. But of course, as a good wife, she needs to show she cares. So Yin went around the table and stopped beside him. Bakugou stared at her, up and down, his brows furrowed and his mouth slightly agape. Then he became startled when Yin leaned down and placed a kiss on his cheek. He was frozen at first and only then jerked away, just as she pulled away. Stay safe. A smile plastered on her face. And good night. And then she left immediately. Bakugou was still startled as he clenched his fist and glared at nothing in particular. Then he shook his head and went back to the maps.